It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.
Gary,
Yes, Jeff.
this was a bad film.
Was this a movie? Was this even a film?
Well, okay, I want to answer. I do want to answer that
Okay.
because I have a theory. But really, what I want to first of all,
Oh,
I do have some iced tea today.
you do have
I
ice.
did
What do you
re-
have today? What did you bring?
I have a mint limeade health aid kombucha
Mm.
because I want to clear the decks.
Mm.
That was a bad film.
Working on your gut
I
health.
want to make sure that no matter how deep we dive and how like apologetic we sound, this is not a film for like consumption
No.
for people. Most people, most non-diabolical humans will find no enjoyment in this film.
No. Dear listeners, you must understand that the creation and distribution of this film was entirely cynical. Everything about this is cynicism. So once you understand that, no one is doing this because they like you or want to entertain you.
There's
This
some
is-
things that are so bad that they like turn into satire.
Yeah.
They're not specifically putting satire together for the audience,
Mhm.
but they turn into a satirical film.
Yeah.
And yes, I do think this is a movie. It's short. It's 60 minutes. The only blessing here is that you don't waste a lot of time, but that felt like 100 minutes. That felt like 110 minutes.
We've watched 2.5-hour movies that felt shorter than this.
Absolutely. We watched that one P.T. Anderson, probably the only one that's
Inherent Vice, yeah.
Yeah. That
Inherent
was the
Vice.
longest movie I think we watched.
And that felt
And I
like
would
that
watch
felt
that
like a
18
breeze.
times in a row before watching this one time.
You know, when we said we were going to do a rapper movie season, there's sort of these stereotypes about rapper movies. And the reason why these stereotypes exist is because of films like this.
Right.
Is there was this market that emerged where people were interested in consuming hip hop content.
Right. Like a lot of this stuff is just the hardest lyrics of the era turned into movies. Like,
yeah,
the kind of contest rappers have to be the most diabolical person on the block or whatever turned into movies.
Yeah.
So and they're like, not to me. I just want to say that they don't feel representative of entire careers for these rappers.
No. And they're also a reflection.
There's plenty of rap songs that aren't about this.
It's also a reflection of the very successful run of, critically and, historically, this run of films that happened in, really in the early 90s. Films from like New Jack City, Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, like all of these films, and so many of these films, like basically created this template. And then people with less talent than those directors and less drive than those directors did other things and tried to recreate those stories. In some cases, you get some interesting stuff. You get like, and we're going to talk about him a bit today, you get like Master P's No Limit Films. And you get sort of this, like, we're going to bundle.
I 100% want to watch one of those, at least one of those.
That's going to happen this season. We have to. I mean, I think it's necessary. Like, is that even if we watch this, I got the hookup. We got to watch something from his filmography. But the thing is, like, he had this, approach of bundling, like, when the technology made available, bundling a CD or DVD or whatever with the CD. And sort of having a film that go with it. He wasn't the only one to do it, but like it was the sort of thing where you had this product in tandem. It's like, we know you like our music, but we're also going to share this with you. We're also going to push this onto you as well. And it's
different. Different forms of media. I'm cool with that part. It was, you said earlier, and I think you know something more than me. Like you found something in your research that I didn't.
Oh, I found something. Yes. Which speaks very much to the media.
Makes it wildly and deeply cynical. This film.
Yeah.
It's just like a small bundle of the very kind of worst of rap.
Yeah.
Tossed into a soap opera and then filmed with some sand. They decided not to film with cameras because no camera can make something so awful.
No, this was the beginning of digital. This is really like
wrapped a flag around a really bad camera and filmed through the flag.
I was reading a review I think it was one of the letterboxed reviews of this,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no critics reviewed this movie. This is not, no.
They're not going to waste their time.
No. But I was reading like a letterboxed review, and somebody who I guess is an expert on the director and Albert Pyun's work pointed out that even the worst movies that this low budget and often ultra low budget director worked on prior to this point were shot on film. And as a result, there was a certain character to film that even a B movie, even a C movie, even a D movie, even a bad, poorly edited, put together movie, like still looks like a movie because it's shot on film. There's a baseline quality to it that exists. And the difference is this was in a period where shooting digital became a viable option for budget filmmaking. And this director, who had been working in that world for, really for decades at that point, seized upon that with this project. And you can see that from just the viewing of this. It looks like a camcorder. It looks like your home movies. You made a movie at home, except your home is Bratislava, Slovakia.
Well, how cool would it be if if they shot it like the beginning of the Wonder Years and just sang, "What would you do if I sang out of tune?" Like, just play that song over this whole movie and it improves.
Well, I think they probably would have chosen to play
they had rights to
that
songs.
Always Wanted to Be a Hoe song from Ice-T as that song.
I mean, it plays like 8 times and they only play the same. It's the same hook too. It's not even like a hook from later on in the song.
No. I think we hear more of it over the
15 seconds of that song over.
I think we hear more over the credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, we largely in the film you're hearing
in the actual
the
film, because like nobody watches the credits all that much like we do. I think we learned that over the course of talking to guests.
Yes, and also the streaming services.
You guys watch through the credits? I'm like, dude, the end of credit music is my favorite because they paid these people to not be listened to, essentially.
Yes, and it's wild too. It's wild too because like I realize streaming services, the nature of them now, like they are trying to get you out of those credits as quickly as possible onto the next content.
Seconds and let's listen.
They're terrified that you're going to turn off your television or X out of the app, or they don't want that. So like you don't get to appreciate these films that were like, oh, you're in a movie theater or you were watching DVD,
especially
credits.
With Tubi too. It's to like. Let's get you to the next commercial too.
Right away. Yeah, there's a commercial
because that's where we make our money. So there's a commercial coming, and we don't want you to watch the credits because we don't put commercials in the credits. No one would watch them. It's actually kind of hard to watch the credits when using streaming services, and I love watching the credits.
Yeah, they make it hard. They do make it difficult. Tubi is especially bad. If there's anything at the very end of a credit sequence, you will never see it. Because there's already the thing on there. And like I love Tubi because Tubi is my favorite service because it holds things that no other service dare hold, and that's a real treat for me as somebody who watches a lot of strange
We're going to be
films.
in Tubi land a lot for this season.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the Ice-T movies, as I've been doing research, are available on Tubi, or you can pay money and rent it.
They have a corner of the rap world that made movies. Like they've kind of cornered that market in a lot of ways. Yeah. Unless it's like a big Hollywood thing. It's got to be a flop if it's a Hollywood thing, but they just buy up. Like they get the rights to these movies and just toss them on there because they know people will watch. Yeah. And look, they're doing it with these newer films too. Like I saw like there was a thing like I Swear Vezo has a movie and it's like on Tubi. It's on Tubi. I'm like, oh shit. Like they're continuing to be like the hub for that, which is wild. And it's great that it's like a place for it. They don't advertise themselves as the place. But they understand that's what they're doing. But yeah, a lot of Ice-T movies are on there. And the truth is, like, because of this environment that we've described of what happened post these kind of, I don't want to say prestige, but these kind of really monumental films that happened that were crime movies that sometimes had rappers in the cast, often had rap as the soundtrack, it became a template that people tried to emulate. Some did it better than others. Some 100%. Did it worse than others. And this is in the worse than others category. But understand that like with Ice-T's career, we are going to see this arc where we talk about films basically up to 1995.
he's still working within the Hollywood system.
Right.
It may be a B movie like Surviving the Game, where it's not like the studio's top priority. They're going to drop it in the middle of, the dead Oscar season, the February or January or whatever. Or they're going to do things where somebody is buried in the cast and is they're more prominent on the cover, but is buried in the cast. But once you get into the B movie, the solid, outside of the Hollywood system, B movies, independent filmmaking, these kind of smaller cash grabby studio things, right. There's a lot of that on that. So I think as we kind of approach his filmography over the course of this season, we have to kind of pepper in from these different eras, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of films that are, I'm not going to say as bad as Corrupt, but are going to be akin to Corrupt.
I just want to know that I'm down for this ride no matter where we go on.
Sure.
Hey, look, watching a bad movie, I'm not allergic to it. My man.
We can do it.
So to get back onto the track of, we got to talk about this particular movie.
Sure.
I'm glad we had a lot of weird babble there, because there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, this is a filler episode, people. If you haven't figured it out, we are filling.
It is.
Because this movie is nothing.
Nothing. There is a big burger of nothing. And we got to talk about the food.
The nothing burgers? The actual nothing burgers?
Because a number of people order food. So I think we can just go ahead and describe, because I don't think spoiler alerts are a thing here. Do not don't watch this. There's no point.
No, come on.
But we did. Here's the genius behind this film is that they cordoned off part of this warehouse and turned it into a absolutely perfect hole in the wall burger spot that would have been great as anything other than what it was used for. There's no drinks in there.
No.
No one's ever cooked. No one even started to cook in there.
Where does the food come from?
Where does it come from? Where does it go? This is the Cotton Eye Joe of food.
It is.
We don't know where it come from. We don't know where it went. We never really saw it. Did we even know Cotton Eye Joe if we don't know these things?
This is Ice T's.
Do we even know this hamburger joint where people order, and at one point someone gets a bag, looks in the bag and says, incorrect. So the only person that gets served in the entire film gets the wrong order.
Yeah.
And yet they got regulars. These people come in all the time. It's a known spot. Everyone knows they're going to meet up at the burger joint that has no seats.
And half of this movie takes, I want to stress, because again, the low budget interest, half of this movie takes place in this makeshift burger joint where there is no grill.
Right.
Where there is no fryolator.
No.
Where there's nothing. They haven't set up a zone to make it look like a kitchen.
They give us the back of the restaurant, and the only thing I could see back there that would store or take care of food was a big, huge, dumpster looking thing. Yes. And it was empty because they had a human being in it.
Later, they had to hide Silkk the Shocker in there. Silkk the Shocker is
just a garbage can, but also garbage cans in restaurants rarely empty.
Rarely empty.
It's all as soon as they put a new bag out there, 5 people are I throw my trash away in here. It's just always full. Not even a bag inside. This guy's just hiding out in a trash can.
So our protagonist, Jody, works. She's the protagonist of this film. Yes. You learn that again. You can see Silkk the Shocker and Ice-T on the cover of this, but she is meant to be the protagonist and star of this film.
She carries everything about the film in every way.
She's in 85% of the scenes.
Yeah.
This is her movie.
And
she's under a pseudonym too. So anyway,
wow.
So Joe, it's not even her actual name, but again, it might have been her stage name at the time. But Jody plays the sister of Silkk the Shocker's character, MJ. And she works in this burger joint that doesn't sell burgers and deals with the various patrons. She deals with, everybody from vagrants who are philosophical in their approach, but also sleazy at the same time. Deals with neighborhood
I just want to
roughs.
pause you for a second and just be the point of that guy was specifically, I think, just to let us know that a lot of people hit on this one.
Yeah.
There's no other purpose for this homeless, this vagrant person to walk in.
Yeah.
And be in the scene. You know what I'm saying?
This is not.
I think he gets a burger. I think somebody hands him a bag full of nothing.
He might have something. Yeah. I feel like he was sitting at a booth for part of that scene. and he may have been done with his food was the idea. The idea is to basically say that this woman who our protagonist is
She's
desirable.
desired amongst
She's desired.
scumbags.
Yeah.
She's
so she
like
has
one
her
of the most desired people in the scumbag universe.
Yeah. Her boyfriend, Miles, a reformed criminal, is like trying to go straight, and he's gone to like some government military type job in DC for training.
Yeah.
So like she's left alone in this like meant to be urban war zone. Like they really are playing up the idea of like, oh my God, New York City. Because this is supposed to be New York City.
Yeah.
New York City is a fucking burnt out hellhole. It's 1999. Now I've lived in New York City my whole life. And 1999 New York is, I'm not saying there aren't bad parts of the bad neighborhoods. This is still plenty, but like the level at which of them trying to show this warehouse that is in like Slovakia, this like what used to be the Czech Republic, sort of former Yugoslavia, Czech Republic, whole thing, this Eastern European place.
The amount of violence that the media portrays New York City to have is a decadent amount of violence.
But they were trying to make this. They were trying to make this look like they were trying to make this look like the Bronx in 1970. Like they were trying to make it look like this was post-white fight. And again, I'm not saying that we don't have bad neighborhoods here, that we didn't have issues. This was so unrealistic in every single way that it's like, if you were in New York, you're like, this is nothing. This doesn't reflect anything.
Nobody
of
in
our
that
experience
movie had been in New York for more than a couple days of their lives at any point. The way this was made, somebody would have stood up and been like, okay, just tell them it's another city. It's not like you did anything that was inherently New York. You didn't go to like a shootout at a steakhouse. You went to what, by the way, doesn't exist in New York, an abandoned warehouse space.
Yes, like so there you have you have two locations essentially in this film. One is this derelict burger joint, and the other is
that I suspect isn't serving burgers. Isn't
serving anything, or falafel. I know somebody ordered a falafel once.
There's a falafel on the menu. Which the menu seems to be just a bunch of signs.
Yeah.
Just like signs all over the place that point out where food is.
There's one thing they have. There's one thing I know they have. Like I absolutely know they have. Icy goes in to order the burger special multiple times.
Never gets
and one. He is the titular character, Corrupt, in case you were wondering where the name comes from.
Oh yeah, Corrupt. His name is Corrupt.
So Corrupt goes in there several times to under the auspices of ordering the special, but he's really just there to flirt and threaten our protagonist, Jody. The one thing they have in that restaurant is ketchup. We know this.
A lot of ketchup.
Because there's a scene with, and I was floored when I saw him, Romany Malco, who some of you may know from all sorts of films, including The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Mm-hmm. Romany Malco goes with his friends and are dissatisfied with their service. And while Jody steps outside to deal with the storyline being progressed, these I guess meant to be kids, these kids, they're not kids, but they're meant to be kids, squirt the place up with ketchup and make a really big mess. And that just adds to our protagonist's suffering, which is immense.
Blocked that scene from my memory.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who comes in from outside of the like small inner circle of MJ, Corrupt, Miles, and her name is
Jody,
right? Outside of those four, they're basically just coming in to point out what we already know, that the restaurant is bad.
Yes,
it's not a good restaurant. That her life is very bad, because everyone just points that out all the time. Every single person that comes up and talks to her is like, life's still bad, huh? She's like, it is. Basically, that's what she's saying over and over again. And then Ice-T is the only one that's like, well, I think we should bang about it.
Yes.
Everyone else is just like, well, nothing ever works out. One of the characters is there specifically to do that. Her friend who helps her run the business.
Yeah, right. I think
I don't know if it's employee or
I think it's Margot.
I
think Margot.
And Margot is in the movie only to talk about how nothing good ever happens to people in New York City.
Yes.
In their particular part of New York City.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think
it's not going to work out.
I don't feel like they're, that's where they feel like they're trying to make this deeper than it is. And again, this rises to like, melodrama at its best. At its best, it gets to melodrama. This is very soap opera-y in terms of how it's executed. Its relationships, its family stuff. Jodie does things to protect her brother MJ. So Silkk the Shocker's character is out there, he's acting wild. He's getting into trouble, and he's running afoul of corrupt Ice-T, who is essentially making major plays to control the neighborhood. He's killing the competition in short order because of an action that MJ took. And then ultimately it just ends in a bloodbath. It really just ends in a bloodbath.
It is
where you see very little blood and a lot of CGI'd gunfire.
And both Ice-T and Silkk the Shocker have much more to offer later in their careers that this movie,
and even before this too.
Totally. I mean, like the rest of their career should not be drugged down, but we have to talk about Silk's performance in this, where literally everything he does ends in him looking and acting confused. Like he shoots somebody twice and then he's like, fuck, what is happening right now? Like he's just looking around like, I wish someone could just explain to me what I just did. Like, yeah, man, you shot a dude, and now laying on the ground twisted in a mass isn't going to help this. You need to do something. You need to keep your wits about you, bud.
You need to leave town. He needs to leave town.
Why didn't he just leave town?
He could have left town a lot of times.
Say what you will about New York City. It may take a while to get out of the city, but we provide plenty of ways.
And we got buses
to get out of
too.
the city that like no one can track.
You can hop on a bus.
Get on a mega bus and you can be anybody. Nobody
can. You can hop on a bus to a mega bus and be gone.
You're gone.
Be gone. I refuse to use this film as a lens through which to think about both of those folks as actors, because it doesn't seem
anyone
right.
in this film.
No.
You're absolved. I know what you had to go through.
Yeah.
That you were crapping out a piece of crap. I understand you.
Yeah.
But it led to some really hilarious, insignificant work from these people.
Yeah. And
like
you got also
Silkk in every scene. I ended up laughing whatever he was saying. I was like, what are you doing? What is the point of this?
And Ice-T is not putting anything into this movie. He's not trying to do like what he did in Surviving the Game, but there's a physicality to it. There's a personality. He was playing this completely nihilistic. He's playing a paper thin villain in this movie, and he doesn't care. He's not trying to do anything else because he doesn't believe in this material that he's performing. And I want to get into that in a second.
That sort of thing also leads to just like, whatever, just tell me what to do in the scene and I'll do it. And you end up with like Ice-T, the rapist.
And he'd worked with Albert Pyun like two crimes before this. He did Mean Guns and Crazy
I think that's
Six.
going to be a better experience.
Yes, well, both those I think had higher budgets and were filmed on actual film. Crazy Six we have to watch because Burt Reynolds is in it, so this is a must. And I've seen a preview with him in there. It looks just, I mean, we're going to watch that movie. But like Ice-T was just going through the motion. I don't know if the veracity of this is true, but he certainly jokes about this, and I'll tell you about this in a sec, where I get it from, about being blackballed from the movie business. And again, like keep in mind that when he did Surviving the Game, because of Cop Killer and the scandal around that, no one wanted to work security on that. So sort of he had a problem where like, films he was involved with may not necessarily get all the support they need. Like his subsequent films were like Johnny Mnemonic and Tank Girl in 1995. Those two came after Surviving the Game. And then it just started being a bunch of sort of like low budget B movie, direct to VHS type fare. He was in like just to show like kind of offers. Yeah. Those were like he was accepting offers like, okay, you're gonna pay me some kind of money. I will go and do this. I'll be here for a couple of days. I don't give a shit. Like he was in Frankenpenis. Do you know what Frankenpenis is?
Gary, I want to tell you right now that I don't, but I do. I saw it. I saw it on the IMDb list.
It's the John Bobbitt. It's the John Bobbitt porn movie. He's in it.
I know.
And
I kind of feel like we have to watch it, even if we don't do an episode on it.
no, I don't want to watch that.
I think we have to.
I don't want to see. No. Oh,
we can fast forward through the dirty parts. I know you don't like sex.
I'm not a big fan of severed penis sex. No, not my bag.
Yeah, we can
your Pornhub searches are your own, but like
Ice-T in this film is what
the point is. But all I'm saying is that this was a period where like this is right before Law and Order SVU,
right
before SVU basically completely changes everything, turns him into one of TV's most enduring characters, a genuine star, and it's just like he's been doing this for nearly 2.5 decades.
He's got a star.
Like he's fucking huge. He has a star.
He getting a star on the.
He got a star. He has a star now on
the
Hollywood. Well, by the time this episode airs, it will have happened.
Hey, on the
Hollywood Walk of Fame.
On the off chance that anyone directs Ice-T toward this project, congratulations, big dog.
Yeah, it's awesome. Amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
The thing I have to
especially
stress,
given what I just watched, it's pretty incredible.
The thing I have to stress with especially because we're talking about these movies, like I'm coming to this as a fan. Like you can Google me online and you can see what I've written about Ice-T's work.
Yeah,
I think he's one of the greatest ever do it. I think he's an absolute legend in hip hop, and what he's done is extraordinary. His film career has been curious to me. I was a huge SVU fan. I used to watch SVU every day, reruns, new episodes all the time. For most of my 20s, I watched that and some reality television on VH1 almost exclusively. It's like all I watched for like my 20s. Not my 20s anymore, but I watched it all the time. I loved watching him on there. So this season is like an opportunity for me to really go to these films that I'd seen some of, but not all of, and kind of get a sense of it, because like I really enjoyed him on the show. So like we're coming at it from a place of love. I want to make very clear about that. This isn't us going, ha, ha, ha. That said.
Oh, I ha-ha-ha'd the fuck out of this movie though. I mean, like.
That said.
I think I was about 2 minutes in, and a lot of that is credits. So maybe it was like 3 or 4 minutes in. There were a lot of credits at the beginning. And I was like, there's no need for me to take notes here.
No.
Good. Nobody's putting any effort in. Let's just crap out this piece of crap. I took the same sort of resolve into the film that the filmmakers did.
Yes, exactly.
Like we're putting together an hour-long soap opera episode, and then we're out of here.
Do you remember when he burns the guy with a snap of his fingers?
I can't stop remembering it, Gary.
That boy is toast. That's the line.
That boy.
If you didn't laugh at the CGI fire, or that line, you have no soul.
I mean, like that's Bong Hit City. I was like, okay, ooh. All right, I give up. You guys, you guys really did it, didn't you?
I laughed all the way through to Ice-T's death rattle in the end. The look on his face when he is shot dead by Jody. Sorry for spoilers. We told you not to watch this movie.
Yeah, don't do it.
He makes this grimace that looks like he's constipated.
Yeah.
Which brings me to a small revelation about this film.
Okay.
Because we're not going to spend much more time talking about this. It's not in anyone's best interest.
I do want to talk about a couple of things, but yes.
Okay. Well, we can. But I do want to point out that Ice-T has no love for this movie. You will not be surprised to know. Again, this was
Silkk the Shocker.
This was filmed in 18 days as part of what was meant to be a urban anthology, not my term, from this director, Albert Pyun. He shot 3 films essentially in 18 days. So they're meant to be an anthology, but they're all going to be together as one. And it's in those films were like Snoop Dogg, Ice-T's in all of them, but Snoop Dogg's in it. Big Pun and Fat Joe, like rappers, were in this. So they came out just to Bratislava to do this. And then Ice-T being like sort of he's been given this sort of producer credit on this, whatever that means on a film like this. And he's presented as having a real significant role in this, and his music appears prominently. He had his reasons for being in this. But then how is this being distributed? This isn't going to theaters. So it gets divided up into 3 movies, Corrupt being one of them, the other 2 being The Wrecking Crew, and the other was called Urban Menace. Now, when Corrupt came out as its own DVD, no, we don't. Okay, when Corrupt came out, actually, they're not on. None of those are on Tubi, so we're even cleared on there. We could probably find it elsewhere, but they're not on Tubi. Corrupt came out on DVD because this was about being direct to DVD sales. You were selling these things cynically to hip hop fans and being like, here you go.
Cash
DVDs back in those days, one of the selling points of them was often commentary tracks, director commentary, actor commentary, and so on and so forth. The DVD commentary on Corrupt is done by Ice-T, during which he shits on this film the entire time. Oh, it's on YouTube.
We gotta watch it.
It's on YouTube. Again. I have watched some of it,
but I gotta watch it. We gotta be together when we do that.
Yeah, we might have to watch it today. But I watched some of it today, and I heard about this, and then I went and I found it in my research, and I found it on YouTube.
I wish I had known, and we would have watched that. I would have watched it again just because of that. Obviously,
it will change. I promise you, it will change your perspective on this film. It is him truly doing like a mystery science theater. You watched it. I watched some of it. I watched the whole thing.
Okay.
He is tearing it apart. I'm just saying that, like, we can definitely do that. We can talk about it. Like, when Silkk the Shocker first appears on screen, he says, I don't know why Silkk did this movie. He's a rich dude. He says of the opening again, I watched the very beginning, just quick notes. He says, they shot this movie in some dump. He just says this. Apparently, I read somebody else commenting about the DVD commentary, because those who have discovered it are all like floored by that.
Excellent. And how
it's like, apparently there was no place to go to the bathroom. So in Ice-T's word, the crew would have to hold it in all day. He even makes fun of you for buying the DVD. He says, you're a loser with too much time on your hands. So the cynicism reaches Ice-T levels of fuck you. And it's in the DVD commentary where there's any redeem.
They were like, cool, man, that'll be great. I bet you nobody even
did not
heard
give a shit
that commentary
or care.
They just knew it would sell.
Oh, it's got DVD commentary by Ice-T.
Whatever you want.
Because what's the point? You've already bought it. If you hear this, you've already bought it. You've already fucking got your money. So where this film has
in a way, I know that it's cynical, but here I am, and I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool.
It's fucking cool.
I want that more than I want the movie.
Yeah, and this is where this film gets redeemed. The film itself is not redeemable, but it gets redeemed as a piece of work because Ice-T is then able to step outside of the film and tell you about, like, other than when I'm in this movie is garbage and everything about this is stupid. And you're stupid for having bought this. If Tubi had the DVD commentary track, I would have listened to that, but I had to go finding it on YouTube. So all I'm saying is,
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you a good enough friend to me that you'll come and spy on me when I'm around unsavory characters and then rat me out to all of my family? And
Are you
good enough a friend of me to do that?
Are you referring to Lisa, MJ's girlfriend, who is the she is the ultimate, she is the ruin of this film.
What a terrible human being.
But she also, without realizing it, she ends up saving Jodie's life because by bringing Miles into the equation, by basically, I mean, you can say it yourself, but like Lisa basically sees Jodie and Corrupt hooking up, which is, again, by force.
This kind of brings up the other thing I wanted to mention about this film, that nobody believes in her and Miles's relationship. Nobody believes in love in this. The point where someone is like, Miles is out of town, I'm probably just going to go spy on her and find her cheating on him.
Yeah, that's what you do, right? And she's only cheating on him because she's trying to save her brother's life. Right. And Ice-T is basically like sexually harassing and ultimately raping her.
Right.
In this film. Like, I mean, like, this film is dark. I mean, it's a very dark movie.
And it is. It's, I said earlier, it's like they took the darkest, shittiest lyrics of all time and turned them into the movie.
These are not the funny parts of the film. The funny parts of the film are very obvious. Much of this film is just you sitting there going like, I'm watching horror. I'm watching something that's horrifying. Yeah. The entire time. You likened it, we talked before, you likened it to a snuff film.
I did. It's basically just a film to watch a bunch of people get murdered.
And in the end, that's what happens.
And like, nearly the only reason we're given their lives is so that there's any impact in their lives ending.
And apparently that scene in the warehouse where the final kind of gun battle with like all these gang members and goons and all these folks kind of showing up to shoot each other, that's apparently recycled footage that's used in the other two films as well, to the point where nobody knew which film they were shooting for.
Move.
Yeah,
we're
right.
Make Hellraiser exactly. 2, but here's 45 minutes of the film you just watched like a couple years ago.
Oh my god. Or New Rose Hotel, which we watched separately, which is, you know, Abel Ferrara, really bizarre take on a William Gibson book, where the third act is just like flashback scenes to the first two. And we may talk about Abel Ferrara in this series as well, because we did go to the cinema to go see Ice-T in Abel Ferrara's RX Miss.
We did, and I want to rewatch that before I talk about it.
So we may go into that at some point this season.
That's a wild journey.
That's a wild journey. A very different kind of independent filmmaking than Albert Pyun's movie. Actually shot on film, I believe, too. So
I think we maybe didn't. The only thing that I regret about this episode, and I'm hopefully going to alleviate that regret, is that we didn't talk about how wildly stupid calling someone corrupt is. Naming your character Corrupt and the movie Corrupt.
Well, there's a rapper Corrupt with a K.
Yeah, man. We got like a whole career of that human being talking about being corrupt. This was an hour. And you like immediately gave all right, this is the bad guy. This guy's corrupt, guys. We named him Corrupt. Do you get it? So dumb. Fuck this film.
Yeah, I think we're done talking about this one.
That's gotta be it, right?
There's nothing else to say. We promise that the next Ice-T film,
as long as the film at this point.
At this point, yeah, and I gotta say, like, the next film we pick in the Ice-T series is gonna be better than this by default. We're gonna pick something.
This is the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, we're gonna pick something real. Don't worry, guys. We won't let you down.